All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Counselor's Kitchen Table podcast. Today I'm very, very excited for we are talking to the ladies on today. Last week we talked to the fellas, and it was a wonderful conversation. Had great fun with Pastor Crawford, who came in and had that conversation with me. But today we are talking to the lady, the elect lady Forney. And she is in. Say hello, elect lady.
Hello, greetings.
Introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, and we'll get started.
All right, my name is Angela Forney, elect lady Angela Forney. I pastor alongside my husband, Bishop Michael Forney, the Lifestyle of Christ Church. And so I'm super excited to be here with our son in the ministry, Minister Davion, just to speak a little words of wisdom to our ladies during this time.
Yes. So we've been in quarantine. We've had all these different things going on, pandemic, racial injustice. And so this podcast is just for us to take a step from that world, our present reality, and just kind of look inside ourselves and see us in a different light and a different perspective, and do some work while we've got some downtime. And so I'm very excited to have this conversation with the ladies today. And so we're going to be talking about value over virtue.
All right.
And what the differences are there, and how it is that we can implement these things in our lives. And ladies, how it is that you can make steps toward changing some positions and changing some thought processes, and just going through some different things and applying some new efforts to your life. So I'm hoping this is going to be a blessing for you like it was for the men, and we'll get started. So today we are going in our well for starters. So our word of the day is virtue.
Okay.
And so we put out a poll on Instagram, and we asked the ladies what it meant to be a valuable woman. And upon these different responses, we've got so many different words and different thought processes from both ladies and men. However, we're going to tackle that a little head on. So we wanted to start with the word virtue because there is a difference, and that is a word that I saw several times, but there is a difference between virtue and value.
Yes.
And we wanted to discover that on today. So the word of the day is virtue, and the definition says the quality of doing what is right and avoiding what is wrong, a particular moral excellence, an admirable quality or attribute of something, morality with respect to sexual relations and purity. Okay, so this is what the definition of virtue, and it's oftentimes tied to women. Why do you think that is, elect lady? Anything else based off of this definition that you want to expound on?
I do. And since we're speaking value versus virtue, I know our word of the day is virtue. And so that's a good definition. And what I like to say is try to make things just easy to pack, right? So my virtue to me, as it would be to relate to women, is what is the individual human characteristic that's reflected from me, right? So it's something that's on the inside. It's an innate good quality or moral that's on the inside of me. So it's that it's virtue intangible. Is what's inside, right? And so value, when you speak value, it's something that's held in high regard. So you put a value on something based upon what you feel the value is, what you feel the regard is, where you hold the regard there. And so just as you spoke in the introduction, that they're two different things, and most often misinterpreted to be one and the same. But certainly that virtue is what's down on the inside of you, sometimes, most times undiscovered until later, and that value is what many times we accept as the cultural norm. Right.
Absolutely. And so some of the things that stick out to me is the word quality, right? So that means that there is something that is quality that is attached to your virtue. And for something to be quality, it has to be better than everything else, or the normal status.
The standard.
Of everything else. And so another word is right. And of course, that's very direct. I know a lot of times we want to put gray areas in everything there is, but some things are just right and just wrong.
Yes.
And so avoiding wrong, that's another one within the definition. I think that we sometimes look at standards, right? We sometimes look at status quo. We sometimes look at people and hold them to be our standard. And we don't really encompass what morally is right and what's wrong for ourselves.
Correct.
And so I think that there is virtue in avoiding the wrong thing, and I'll talk about that a little bit later more in one of the other questions. Let's see, excellence, that's self-explanatory. Doing what's admirable, meaning what's praiseworthy, something that's valuable, right? And then respect. So that's a big one.
That's a big one.
Is very much so respect, which is given, which is also earned, and the same with disrespect. It's also given, it's also earned as well. So we have that deals a lot with our character, and we have to talk about that. So that is our word of the day, guys. That's our starters, and we're going to move right into the food for thought, which kind of breaks this down even deeper and takes it to another level. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about virtue, right?
Right.
Now, the question comes to what makes a woman valuable. Okay. What makes a woman valuable? I have the definition here, and I will read it. I know it's not a part of our word of the day, but I'm going to read it just for context. Value, the regard that something is held to deserve the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. Okay. And in regards to a person, it says value is a person's character, principles, or standard of behavior, one's judgment of what is important or beneficial in life.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So those are that's kind of the summation of the definition of values in regards to people. So based off of this, what makes a woman valuable?
Right. So when you look at that word valuable, and especially with the definition that you just lifted, it all points back to self. How do I value myself? How do I hold myself in regard, right? Do I hold myself at a low regard or high regard? Do I have low standards for myself, or do I see myself as a woman or a person who holds themselves with high standards? And so value is almost that you relate it to the term, a saying that's most popular with beauty. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, value also, right? Because everyone doesn't have the same standards. So value for me may be integrity, right? I hold integrity at high value, meaning I don't want someone who's untruthful, right? So my value that I'm holding there is the integrity, but the virtue, the character that I want someone to possess is loyalty and truthfulness. So I'm looking for some virtue to represent the value that I'm holding.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I look at the definition of value, and the second one says character, principles, and standards. Those three words to me speak to who you are, what you do, and how you do it.
Yes.
And in that very order. Your character is who you are. It says principles, meaning what it is that you do, and your standard is how you do what you do.
Yes.
And so I look at that and I say, what makes to me, because I am a man, I'm a male, but what makes a woman valuable to me is a woman of great character, so who she is.
Yes.
And no two women are the same, no two men are the same. Right. So and sometimes that goes back to how you raised, that goes back to what's being poured into you, and what influences you're sitting under, what environments you're sitting in. So that all plays a part in who you are.
Right.
But it also plays a part in your principles in the same manner, in the same way. It plays a part to your principles and what you do.
Yes. The way
that you do what you do is the standard. And so like I say, cooking may not be your ministry. Cooking may not be your gift. Why? Because what you sat under, that wasn't the way.
That wasn't the level. That didn't give much value in the household.
Didn't give much value.
And so I like that you say that, because especially in this climate, there's this hustle mentality. Yeah, I got my hustle. I'm hustling.
Right.
I have different jobs that I do. So what we're saying is we reference that I've been raised to hustle. Right. This is what has been given value. Now, is that valuable across the board?
No,
not necessarily,
not. Yeah.
right? Because you have a hustler's mentality. Sometimes it means as a woman, you don't know to allow someone to come in and take and respond to a need that may need to be met outside of you.
Right, correct.
Right? So sometimes that mentality, because you've been reared in that and you've been given so much value in that place, you don't make room for the spouse or the person in relationship that may be you may be drawn to.
Right. So we're talking to ladies, we're talking to women, and that may mean daughter, that may mean mother, that may mean sister, that may mean work woman. But we're talking to women, and so right here, as you were just talking about, that what's been given value as far as what's been given in childhood.
Yes.
Let's talk to mothers for a second. We often hear the scripture that says, train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they're older, they won't depart from it. I've taken some time to really break down and analyze what that means.
Okay.
Because I think we get it twisted in the fact that just because, number one, let's just talk about that word training. So training is hands-on.
Absolutely.
It is not look or hear and repeat. It is hands-on. It's what you do, not what you say. We talked about with the men, that children do what they see, not what you say. Yes. And so what's being displayed and what's being valued, right, the principles and the standards, that's what's going to reflect on the children most, right? And so you're going to be training up that child in the way that they should go with your actions. Let's just make it clear. And when they get older, they won't depart from it. And so I thought about that, and I thought about my mom, and I spoke to this a little bit last week about how she had enough wisdom to put us before great men. She had all boys. So we're not, this conversation ain't about men. That was last week, but I'm just side piecing here that she had all boys, and she put us before great men that were able to influence us and teach us some things that she couldn't as a woman. Correct. And so she had that wisdom to admit what she couldn't do and then move forward with a different plan, right? Yes. And so with that being said, all of us, although we don't all walk the same path, my brothers and I are very different. All of us, we all do different things. Right. We all raised in the same household, but we're individuals, so we're different people. Yes. And because we all do different things, right, there was a song that I heard about a young lady giving her testimony, and she said that she was getting ready to overdose, but she knew enough to call on the name of Jesus, right? And so that's literally the summation of what that training is, right? And then it says when you get older, you will not depart from it. That don't mean that you're going to walk in it. That's correct. That don't mean that you're going to go in the vein of it. That don't mean that you're going to go down that path. But what it means is that when there are times where it's needed most, you won't depart from it. Absolutely. And so I bet you all of my brothers, even though we're not on the same path, when they're in trouble, they know enough to call on the name of Jesus, right? Yes. And so because that's what's been trained, that's what we've been trained in. Regardless of what we choose in life, we still have been trained in it. So with that being said, I'm bringing this thought back to full circle. Okay. There's another scripture that says, Paul says, every time I try to do right, evil is always present. And what that literally means when you think about the training, right, is that when you're teaching children to hook and crook, to hustle and not be worried about everything, when you're teaching them the negative, when it is that they get into a place in life that they may not follow the path of negativity that you've displayed before them, but it's going to be much more harder for them to choose right because they've already been prepared for the evil. So every time they will to do right, what it is you've already taught them, they can't depart from it. Yes. Because the evil is still going to be present, right or wrong. So and so it goes both ways. Whether you raise them right and they choose to go down the wrong path, in times they're going to know how to call on the right thing. Yes. And vice versa. When they've been renegated with wrong and they choose to go down the right path, they're still going to be struggling with evil that's going to be present. And so it's something to think about, something to be cautious of.
It does. And so when you look at that word train, it also is it just exactly with the examples that you've given. It's what your household has put value in, right? So in your household, although 4 different personality types, 4 different temperaments, doing 4 different things, 4 different ways, the value that was lifted in that house was Jesus, right? So just as you said, it goes to that value versus virtue. The character that you guys possess are different. Your virtues are different, right? And it's what's on the inside of you all. However, the value is what was most lifted in that household.
Right.
Mom didn't have all the answers, but she knew enough to lift this as a value.
Right.
When I'm not there, call on this as
Absolutely.
let this be the value to you.
Absolutely. So I think when we go back to answering the question, what makes a woman valuable, is what it is that she holds value to.
In high regard. What do you hold in high regard? And as a woman myself, trying to train up women, right? I have 2 daughters, and daughters in the ministry, and so it's always a place of being mindful that you want to highlight their virtues, right? Lift those characteristics that are on the inside that they're unaware of, and say, this is what's most valuable. Not that you look good on the outside, but know that those things that are on the inside are most important. And so that is what we want women, or what I would like women to hear through this, is to recognize, to place your value on those things that are unseen, not necessarily on the outside, because we know in the word those things fade away. It's the stuff that's on the inside that will last. So we train up to know your value consists on the things that are on the inside.
Okay, that's awesome. I like that you said to focus on those things that are on the inside. I think that oftentimes in the culture of women, that's what's most neglected, is the things that are on the inside. And so as women, we as a society, we teach that if you can cook, if you can clean, if you can take care of children, if you can do these things, that makes you a valuable woman. Now, as far as value is concerned, right, there's another little word, and then we're going to move on into the next question that I like, and it says, in the definition, it says, what is important or beneficial in life. And so what we hold valuable, we also hold beneficial.
Absolutely.
And the thing about it is if our mentality is in a place of selfishness, then whatever it is we hold valuable will be of benefit to us.
To myself. Correct.
And when you talk about what life is and what life is all about, a good life is all about what you can do for others, not always what you can do for yourself. I know we're in a culture where we talk self-love and self-value and all that kind of stuff, and that's good to have, because you definitely can't take care of others unless you have yourself together.
That's true.
However, as far as value is concerned, some of the most valuable people that you know, some of the most valuable people that you love and deem valuable and deem awesome and good people are people that are givers.
Yes.
And typically people that have given to you, given something to you that it is that you can't even exchange for money.
Yes.
And so with that being said, we have to challenge our mindset right there. What is beneficial? Because whatever we hold valuable, that's what we're going to hold beneficial as well. And so as a woman, it's good to know how to please your significant other. But it's also good to be able to turn the valuable thing that's in you and turn that around and give service to those who are in need of it. And if that is your significant other, then doing it the right way.
Right.
And not
That's
just
good.
for pleasure or for physical need or anything like that, but doing it the right way.
Absolutely.
So that's just one thing I wanted to highlight there, is that beneficial portion. All right. So second question, what makes a virtuous woman?
I think we've kind of hit that. The virtue of a woman, again, goes back to those innate things, what is on the inside. And virtuous, I just, when I'm thinking about that, it shows itself. It shows up in different behaviors, right? Because we're visual beings. We're going to assess with our eyes what we see, although virtue cannot be seen, it's something that's a characteristic on the inside. It shows up in our behaviors. And so what I would say certainly is that righteous woman, that and not that she's always right, right, but that she's walking a path of. And so another, especially in this climate, loyal, right, but not loyal to a fault. Loyal because I'm honest and open, right, okay, and transparency is there. I'm not deceptive or secretive, so I'll give what I'm expecting. That's part of the virtue of a woman, especially in this particular climate.
Absolutely, I definitely agree, especially with the consciousness of being righteous, right? I believe that a woman's virtue lies in her ability to connect.
Oh, yeah.
And so the thing about what I've seen about women and the women in my life, and what I've learned from all the different women in my life, is that women in and of themselves have an ability to connect.
Yes, or nurture.
Nurture is the word, right? And so that connection, nurturing, has all to do with giving what's needed.
Yes.
And being the need.
The need. Seeing the need and becoming that need.
And so that, to me, and it lies in a natural way that women have that virtue of connection, of nurturing, right? And so for me, because we're in such an age where that's not as prevalent in women, therein lies for me a problem, because I'm seeing that virtue is being, I wouldn't even say thrown away. Virtue is being literally stolen from our ladies, because there's not a natural ability to connect and to nurture. There are a lot of young ladies who have children and do away or walk away or still want to have fun, and those are things in life that we have to change or alter when it is that we make decisions, and those decisions have consequences and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. So I don't know what stolen is a way to look. I would say it's being suppressed. Remember, it's something that's innate. It's on the inside of us, but if no one is there to highlight or to nurture those qualities, then you never know they really exist in you. Right? You never. I'm a woman, so it's something that God has put on the inside. I'm built to be a nurturer, but if I've never seen that or how that looks, then I don't know that I possess that quality. So I think in this age there is a lot of suppressing of that, of vulnerability. No one wants to be vulnerable in this climate with anyone, right? And so I think that allows for the woman to step into a different role. Now I have to protect myself instead of nurturing someone knowing that I am protected. So I think that the age, the time that we are living in, the lack of someone being in the presence to help nurture those qualities out may be lacking.
Okay, awesome. And so we've said it with the men, and we'll say it with the women. You know, it takes that nurturing from young to old. We talked a little bit last week to the men about how it is that they should step in as husbands, as fathers, and things like that. And we spoke a little bit to their misery and how it is that their misery won't allow them to be good fathers, be good husbands, be good men. And so in the same right, ladies, those who are in the older generation have a responsibility to teach those who are in the younger generation. Indeed. And I think that connection is not there as it used to be. But we definitely, ladies, we definitely have to do better in the regard of giving.
So I think that may be a misunderstanding as well, because people don't want to open up because they think they have to tell too much of themselves. And the truth about mentoring or helping someone along the way is really living your life out. It's not necessarily, just as you said, what you say. It's not, because many times the next generation is not trying to hear what you're trying to say. They want to see. Right? And so many of the older generation, the older ladies, don't put it on display. They withdraw because you may see something that's not
Right.
so virtuous.
Right.
But we don't fail to realize we're all human and we're all still growing.
Yes.
But I do have to be open enough or vulnerable enough to pull somebody in to walk alongside of me.
To walk alongside.
Right,
Yeah.
to learn as
Absolutely.
I'm learning as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And so that's a really good perspective. That's a really good place to be. And like I said, I think that, as you stated before, and this is where I was kind of getting at as well, is that some of our older generation, because I said that ladies, we got to be more giving.
Yes.
Yeah, our older generation isn't as giving as they used to be. You think about a lot of, and I'm just use this for an example. You know, I know that within my family, some recipes and that sort of thing just have not been given up. Why? Because as long as I'm still living, I'm going to go on and do it. What I need to do. And there's no trust that you're going to do how I do when, you know, or you may do something different or better, or what you may think is better, and it throws off what it is that I've taught you.
Right.
And we have to be susceptible to understand that it's the way. So, again, reflecting on that scripture, it says, train up the child in the way that they should go. It didn't say that they were going to do exactly as you do, exactly how you do it. And so it's the way. And as long as you're departing or imputing the way, the values, the virtue, the way in which these things are to be done, then allow that person to take that in, and it's guaranteed that they won't depart from it.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to do it exactly how you do it, or exactly in the manner or the liking that you do it, but they won't depart from the structure of what it is that you're doing.
Yes.
And so we have to come into that understanding, ladies, and just give. Like I said, that is the nature of a woman that I believe makes her valuable and virtuous, is how it is that she gives.
Yes.
So we're going to move forward with the next question. And it says, and we read this question for the men, just to preface. So I didn't think that it would be fair to ask the men this question.
Okay.
And not ask the ladies this question.
All
okay.
right.
So this question says, at what point should a woman put away childish things?
All right.
Any thought there?
Any thought or much thought? Childish things. At what point should a woman put away childish things? So what I did was begin. As I hear this question, it takes me to a thought process in my head that life is seasons, right? So you journey in different seasons, and to me, when I think of transforming into womanhood, there's so many different seasons that you go through. In your 20s, your early 20s to late 20s, early to mid 20s, I'd say, you're still doing that whole social discovery.
Right.
You're trying to go with the crowd. It's fun, it's exciting, it's young adulthood. You're experiencing life with others. So it's a social kind of development that's going on. When you begin to transition from late 20s to early 30s, something shifts. When you start to see 30 in your mind, in your psyche, in your maturing, just in life in general, something to you shifts about the social aspects, and you start to do an inner thought process. You start to say, okay, at 30, what am I doing with myself? At 30, what do I want to do? What are my needs? What are my wants? And so you move from socially acceptance, you know, what my friends are doing, what's the latest and greatest. Now in this 30 age, you're saying, where do I see myself? You start to do a self-evaluation. And then from there, the late 30s to early 40s, you've now come to self-acceptance. When you hit 40, you're like, I am who I am. I know my ups, my downs, my flaws, and I'm okay with who I am. And so these are kind of journey. This is a journey that you begin to take. So childish things will roll away at different times for different people. That was just a glimpse of where I see seasons changing for the woman in life, right? You're still childish. It's still about what's the latest and the greatest.
Right.
And so it's really a show for myself and my friends, myself and my partner, myself and my, you're looking at it in that vein.
Right.
But childish things will begin to fade away when you turn in and look into your inner. When it's a self awareness. When I'm saying, what am I doing? Where do I see myself? Where is my greatest needs at this? When you're doing that self evaluation, those childish things begin to roll away, because now you become to a place of saying things have gotten serious now. I should be doing something with myself.
Right.
Whatever that something is, that's when the light bulb is shifting for you.
Okay. So is there a point besides age in which, because there are, in just being real and in reality, a lot of people are having children young while they're still young.
Right.
A lot of people are getting married young. I have friends that got married right out of high school and that sort of thing. All these, in this culture, there's a lot of progression in a short time, or at a premature time, fast pace that's going on. And so in those times, besides just the age points, are there any points that you would say, and in those points, what exactly would you say needs to be evaluated? Like, let's say for instance, those who are young and getting married pretty fast. What advice would you give, or what would you say for the woman? Okay, this is what you're choosing to do. Right. But there needs to be some evaluation.
Some evaluation, absolutely. Life matures us. Life's challenges matures us, even when we're not ready. And so I believe that when we take those premature responsibilities, right, that's quite early, right out of high school, to say, now I'm ready to hold a household down. I'm ready to be all that you need me to be. Well, I've not really discovered who I am. So it's not that I can be all that you can be. So there are going to be a lot of hiccups in the road, a lot of hard knocks, right? And those are the things that begins to mature us, and those childish things should begin to erode away at that point, because life happens. And when life happens, how do you deal with that? Right. And so those will be the challenging times that should mature you. Right,
because in the poll you got a lot of those answers and responses to the question. The question being, what makes a valuable woman, right? And majority of the responses were the way she deals with XYZ ABC, her strength and all that kind of thing. And and in my mind, I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean, her strength? What does that mean, how she responds to this or how she responds to that? What do those things mean? And so I begin to think to myself that, and based off of this question, right? Because for men, I think it's a little bit different in the way that we answered it. There was some, part of it was age, right? But there was just some definites in, as far as, when a man starts having children and those type of things, start a family, that kind of thing, you need to be already putting away some childish things. But at the end of the day, I think for women, we have this stigma in society that women just naturally or automatically matures more, faster, better, quicker than men, and that sort of thing. And I don't believe that's true, especially in the interim of how it is that you nurture, which is part of your virtue. Yes. And I think that a lot of times you see in relationships and in motherhood, especially these days, because of the lack of being able to nurture and that sort of thing, you see an extra childish nature that's kind of walking alongside children.
Yes. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But I think that in the interim of all of that, I think there comes a point, like you say, in life, where life has just happened and we've got to change. And for some, that don't take place. But I think for ladies, as far as those changes, because seasons happen all the time. Yes. And with your readiness or without your readiness. Right. But I think that one thing that's harder for some women to process is the fact that seasons happen all the time, with or without your readiness. Yes. And so I think that for young ladies, what I would say from a male perspective is grab a hold of those seasons that are coming in and out of your life,
Mm-hmm.
and when they leave, let them leave.
Let them leave.
Because
yes.
that is for me the most innate issue I see with a lot of young ladies that I talk to, that I counsel, that I teach, is that you repeat
the same
same things over and over and over again, and therein lies a childish mentality. We
Yes.
talked about it a little bit last week with the men, that you touch that stove because you're curious, but once you touch that stove, you ought to not be curious anymore. But there's a nature that drives us to want to be curious. Well, maybe just the spot that I touched was hot.
Yes.
Maybe this spot won't be as hot. It's a childish nature that we definitely have to address and see.
Which goes back to the fact that there was a lack of nurturing there. Someone, mentoring, I should say. Someone just to that's on the side of you to say, girl, don't do that again.
Yeah.
Just the reality of, we have so many now, the accountability, who are in friend relationships with parents, and so they never were really parented.
Right.
And so now that they're in serious situations, they don't really know how to shift gears. Like you said, the season has changed, and they keep doing the same thing.
Absolutely.
And so that's why just these outlets, just being able to yoke up with someone who has the maturity level that you're seeking is wise to link up with those types of women.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely, and be open with it.
Yes.
So that would be my my answer to that question. Is just, ladies, allow yourselves to understand how seasons work, because you're not wearing fur and mink in the middle of July.
That's right.
You're not, because the season has changed. It's time to do something different.
Yes.
So we have to address that and look at that for ladies, knowing when to let seasons go once they've changed, and allow yourself to pull what you needed from that season to move forward. So we've talked about the different qualities of value, virtue, and when to put away childish things. Okay.
Yes.
So the next one is a good one for me. What values and virtues are needed to walk in the way of a woman? And when I say that, I mean as motherhood, as a wife, as a working woman, etc. To walk in the way of being a woman, what kind of values and virtues are must-haves, are needed?
The first thing that comes to mind when you say that is wisdom. In anything, you must have wisdom. And that is wisdom to know to make righteous decisions, to choose right, even when you have a desire to want to do wrong.
Right.
And so that's where wisdom kicks in. All of us have a nature on the inside that pulls us to things that are not right for us, right? But wisdom says, don't even worry about it.
Right.
It's not worth that. So I say wisdom as the utmost important, right? The foundational virtue, and then gentleness. We've lost that for somewhere down the line. If we're gentle, we feel we're weak, and that's not what gentleness is. It's knowing how, as grandmama would say, handling somebody with a long-handled spoon. Meaning, I still deal with the person, but in a different manner, right? So wisdom speaks. Not everybody can be dealt with in the same way. And then my gentleness, my virtue, saying I can kill them with kindness. I don't have to I don't have to come unglued, come out of the box. And see, that's considered valuable and virtuous as a male looking on, that you're not coming out of character every time something ruffles your feathers. And knowing how to effectively communicate. That's a value that's eroded. People, say anything at any time, and so there's no real look at your inner character. If I can come unglued and say what's really on my mind all the time, that's something that's just not right. I don't have myself under control, and so I would say wisdom, gentleness, and being an effective communicator. Let me be open, honest, and direct, but in a respectful manner.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that we talked a little bit about respect at the top, but definitely that for me is, along with wisdom, that would be my number 2, is respect.
Yes.
And so the thing about respect, as I stated before, it is earned, and it's valuable. Because if it is and when it is that we respect ourselves as people, But for women, I think it goes even further, that when it is you respect yourself as a woman, your standards,
Yes.
right, your principles and your character then becomes respectable.
Yes.
And so what it is that you've put in work in those inner things as far as your value is concerned, it shows up on the outside.
It shows up.
Why? Because then men won't talk to you any kind of way. People won't talk to you any kind of way. People won't
Or
do
if
you.
they do, because you can't control what others
do.
but how you respond.
Right.
Right. So
Exactly.
you won't allow certain
And-
things
and
to
yeah.
be said to you in certain ways.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so there's
Absolutely.
that back and forth there.
Yeah. So like I say, respect is a very good one for me, because I see that being lacked in a lot of areas. But one thing to note about it is that when you have wisdom, and when you're able to exercise respect in that wisdom, I'm talking about, you'll go places you'll never imagine.
Yes.
In life. And so you have a lot of women that I look upon that just have this natural bless and well, let's say this natural glory and this natural look of being blessed over them. And you look upon them and you know that they're blessed. I believe that that's because they exercise the wisdom
Yes.
with much respect. With much respect.
Indeed.
And so that's universal, based off of who they are and what they do and how they do
Yes.
what they do. It's all in respect and all in wisdom. So that's good for me. As far as walking in the way of a woman, as you spoke to earlier, there are a lot of challenges that come along with that. There are a lot of storms and seasons and things like that we walk in day to day. And as women, you all walk in. However, I believe that there has to be, like you said before, some self-control that comes along
Indeed.
with that, because there's a lot more temptation out there, I believe personally, for women than there are for men.
Okay.
And I say that because men's temptation are easily exploited, because we talked about last week, everything that we're given is carnal based.
Yes.
As men. In our society and our standard, everything we're given is carnal based. But for women, a lot of times I believe that the things that come along for women attack them in on a deeper level and on a more inner level.
Okay.
Why? Because everything is processed on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it is that storms and things arise for women, if there is no self-control, then you go down a path
Yes.
that leads to some destruction, that leads to some other things, and it's harder to come out because it grips you from the inside
From
out,
the inside, that's so true.
not from the outside in. Yeah, because for men, if there is infidelity, right, 9 times out of 10, that infidelity is carnal. And so for you, it was something, just whatever.
So it plays to your senses as
your
opposed
senses,
to
right.
the spiritual
Your
connection.
your connection.
Yes.
Because that's what women naturally have
Correct.
the ability to do, is connect. And so for a woman, if there's infidelity, typically there was because of a connection.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And so with that being said, like I said, I think it's so much more temptation, so much more aggression and things like that for women. And if there is no self-control and walking in the way of self-control, I think that kind of is what sets some women on a path. And you look at, different women do different things and that sort of thing, but you look at the overall and just say, man, they're, and a lot of times I believe that lack of self-control comes from the lack of the value and the virtue being ignited and that sort of thing from young age. So we have to do better, men and women, to really validate and value our younger kids and our younger children and teenagers and things like that, teaching them their value and their virtue as
Yes.
women, so that, because in those years it's much more harder. Because it's one thing to be childish or folly. It's another thing to be all that and not have any value or virtue, or not know that you have value and virtue.
Correct. So
So-
anything goes. You're accepting anything.
Anything.
Yes.
So self-control is something that really just needs to be implemented alongside our wisdom, alongside our respect, alongside of all of these different things that we've named, in order to walk in the way of a woman.
Indeed.
Because at the end of the day, It's not always about what comes your way. It's about what you allow. That's the power you have as a woman.
Yes.
Is the ability to allow or not allow whoever, whatever, to say whatever, do whatever is in your allowance.
Yes.
You have that final say as a woman.
Yes.
So just another little nugget. Okay, this is our last question.
Okay.
And it is a good one.
All right.
And with much deep discussion. This question says, how can a woman reclaim her virtue in today's world and climate of sexualization and disassociation? Disassociation meaning within the disorder itself, within the mental disorder itself, those things like bipolar disorder, those things like multiple personality disorder, these are the type of things that some women are claiming over themselves.
Oh my, that's deep.
In the interim, that, I got alter egos and that kind of thing. And, so in this society of sexualization and disassociation, how do women reclaim their virtue?
Wow. Like I said, that's so many. That's deep on so many levels.
Yeah, let's take it there because they need to know.
Sexualization, and then the mental health issues that surrounds that as well. What I just say is nothing that we've not said throughout this series here. It really is going to take, first of all, much prayer, but that training and mentoring. You do different when you see different.
Right.
If I don't see something different before me, I won't reach after anything different. And I think I shared this not long ago. We were speaking about the music aspect.
WAP, whatever it is.
And so I began to recall a stage or an era where that sexual exploitation for women was big and popular, and it was right in college days for me and independence, and I was drawn. I was in that era of socialization, right? This was what was happening. This was the value that we placed at that time. That we held this music in high regard, and so this is what kind of drove our environment.
Now help them out. Tell them what you was
okay. So we were so I was saying for my era, it was Little Kim and her dropping her record and Tupac and so I was freshman in college and I'm getting a CD and soon as before I go to hit classes, I'm putting on My Ambitions as a Rider and I'm getting myself hyped up to get to class so I can in my mind be ready for class. But of course now fast forward, you look back and say, what was I really hyping myself up to do? Not go in and be ambitious as a student. I mean, that just wasn't what it was. But I'm in high gear with it. But I say that to say, what's happening? The WAP, the song that's out is not something new. Of course, it's just more impressionable with a younger crowd, I would say. But it's not a new element, but the discussion has to come alongside of it. We give sex in the Western civilization so much credit as if and I think that our younger generation shy away from being open and honest. Because let's discuss that, right? This is what's the top hit. And is this because these are two big women in the industry at this moment? However, I think we can't look at it so spiritually to say, is this where you're getting your guidance? Our prayer is that it's not. Our prayer is that every day within your household, you're seeing a woman of virtue, a woman whose standards are not limited to what's between her legs, right? My standard now is my day-to-day, how I nurture my household, how I make it happen for my household, the dialogue, the conversations that I have within my household. And so music is going to come, and it's going to be more provocative. It's designed to be that way. But let's have open dialogue about that with the younger generation. Don't be so impressed by this that I have to verbalize what she's saying. I have to dress the way that they're dressing. Let's look at it and say, call it what it is. If it's good entertainment and that's what's happening at this point, say that that's what it is. They're entertaining. But don't let that be something that is pressed on the inside.
Don't let it be your
don't let it
standard.
take root, right? Don't let it be your standard. Okay, it's music, it's hot, it's what it is, and they're speaking this language. Is it righteous or holy? It is not. Not everything that you come across is going to be.
Right.
But I say this to say there was a season in life where this was appealing. However, it did not take root because I always had someone of value before me, and not necessarily in my household, right? But the Lord, thank God, He's always placed a woman of virtue that I'm looking to say, man, what makes her so different? Right? And it's not anything that was being said. It was everything that was being done.
Yes.
So my just there would really say, during this time of sexualization, how can you reclaim? Look at that for what it is. It's entertainment.
Right.
It's not for your lifestyle. It's not for you to be, because even during that time, that's when the whole women calling themselves bees, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
I'm that bee. I'm that, whatever.
Right.
And so I think that you have to know, and when we were saying that, we felt like we were owning that. We were taking the power away, so that, that's my onus. I can call me that, but you can't call me that, right? Of course, that doesn't work because you're gonna say what you want to say.
Right.
But my thing here is to note that you cannot engage so heavily in this that it becomes who you are. You're living your life by what you see before camera,
right?
And that's a falsity, right? It's not truth.
Absolutely.
And so I would say, in order to reclaim, always have someone who's grounded, someone who is living a life that you may desire in your peripheral, something that you're looking at to say, I would like to do that. Watch this. When I grow up, I want to be like that.
Be like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I completely agree. My only thing is that's not always available. And so you look at some people, let's just say in my own life experience, right? I've engaged with young ladies and things of that nature. I'm a young man. I've engaged with different types of young ladies, and I've always found that that's not available. And so in and of myself, you try to do the right thing. You try to maintain a standard and that sort of thing as a man, but that's, of course, that doesn't always help a young lady. And so because it does partially go back to putting away childish things.
Okay.
But if and when you're ready or want or have a desire for something different and you just can't find it, where do you go about looking for or finding that righteous woman? I know that God always sends us things and He always sends us people and we have opportunities. But at the end of the day, for some people, there is no righteous woman in their family. Grandmama crooked, mama crooked, auntie and uncle, aunties crooked, cousins crooked, everybody crooked. How do you go outside yourself and say, I want something better. It's got to be something better than this? Because for me, this is what I believe and what I see, is that when you have all of that on one side, meaning there is no righteous one, right? To be able to follow and be able to see. On the other side, you don't have righteous, music and righteous people in the entertainment industry and that are before you. So it's unrighteousness on both sides. Then you're more susceptible to receive what you see. Because what you see on this side, you all of that, but you broke.
Yes.
But she all of that, and she the same thing. We're looking at the same thing. But she rich, she got money. You understand what I'm saying? You start to pursue higher ground, but it really ain't high. It's lower ground.
Right.
Where do you go? Where do you go to see or find a righteous woman, and just to link up with?
Wow. So again, for me, I was always fortunate. It's not that it was in my household. As a matter of fact, the person that I began to see was a college roommate's mother. Right? We wilding out, but the mama was praying the whole time. We going to clubs, going to parties. She know the whole stories.
Right.
We coming back in drunk, all of the whole nine. She was a praying woman, and she never was a judgmental woman. However, she's praying for our future while we're just existing in
Just
our right
existing.
now. You know, and
That's awesome.
it came further. She began to say, you know, she wrote down prayers for us for us to find godly men for us. And I'm in college. I wasn't thinking
about none of that.
godly man. Surely just chilling, you know. And so just knowing that I truly believe it's an inner thing that God has put on the inside of us for us to he says, I've given everyone a measure, so that it is there. Sometimes we're going to have to press a little deeper to get into those things. And to be able to find, it's going to be something that's going to be a self-directed thing. I'm going to have to push past what I see to get after something else that I want, right? So it really has to be an inner drive at that point to want something different. I know what I'm seeing, and I know this just not right. You know, so it has to be something, a deeper desire on the inside to say, I got to push past to get to somebody who's doing it better than this, you know?
All right. So I heard a quote that changed my life. Y'all know I'm going to say that every episode. Recently, I read a quote, actually, that changed my life. And it says, the most virtuous woman, or the most virtuous women, have something within them, something that is never chastened. This virtuous woman flees from danger. She trusts more to her prudence in shunning it rather than her strength to overcome it. So this quote spoke volumes to me because it is exactly what I believe women are facing in this new age in today's society, where we no longer highlight the value or the virtue of a woman. So it's hard for ladies to be in tune with their virtue these days. I believe women find themselves in situations that are not necessarily meant for them because their virtue has been chastened. And so that word chastened literally means to be broken, right? And so in that, I believe that virtue lies deep within your eyes and in your intuition, which is the voice of God. Your intuition is that spiritual guidance that's on the inside of you, that natural connection, right? And it's because of the virtue in you that typically has been chastened. And it could be anything. It could be violation. It could be, just any number of things that breaks that on the inside of you. But it's because that's been broken, it's hard to tell when you're in danger. Therefore, it makes it hard to make choices that leads you out of danger. Right? But this quote literally enlightens us that there is more power in shunning what you know is dangerous or no good for you, rather than to accept that you're a strong woman, because you are a strong woman, and that you can endure it with your strength alone. That there's more power in saying, no, that's not good for me. Let me walk away. He's not good for me. Mama ain't good for me. Granny ain't doing me no justice. It's more powerful to do that, to shun that nature, to shun that connection that will lead you in danger, than to say, oh, well, I can change him. Because I'm strong enough to do that. Or she might be crooked, but that's still my mama, and I love her. There's so many things that I believe once that virtue is broken. Like you said, it's not stolen. So I had to correct that from earlier. It's not stolen, but it can be broken. And when it is broken, you don't have that voice of God on the inside of you that tells you, no, he's an abuser, or she ain't doing you no good, or that's your best friend, but they don't have your best interests at heart. And so, ladies, I find that when that virtue is broken, you come into situations that may be paths that you're not meant to take. Why? Because you're choosing your strength over your virtue, and over your value. And so I think that that's something that we have to address and kind of reposition for women, and knowing that place your value in your virtue. Place it, because your virtue, like you said, is intangible. It's on the inside. your value has a lot to do with benefits.
Yeah, how someone else see that they can benefit
Exactly.
from you.
Or what you can use your
For-
value to benefit from others.
That's correct.
So if you place your value in your virtue, then not only is your virtue protected because it's intangible. So the only way it's broken is if something comes upon you and you allow your virtue to be broken. And we'll talk about that in the takeaway a little bit. But if you allow your virtue to be broken, then it's broken. But if you seal your value in your virtue and you stay strong in being virtuous, no matter what the circumstance is, then not only is your virtue protected, but your value is protected. You become a virtuous and a valuable woman. You walk in a way that no one or nothing can remove that. And so, like I say, the strength is there. God gave women a strength that's undeniable, right? But that strength is not made for you to rely on for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But your value and your virtue, that'll sustain you for the rest of your life.
Yes.
So I think that quote does well. We can't rely on strength. So it's more powerful to go on and just put him down, stop texting, stop calling.
Yes.
It's more important to just go on and walk away from the family. I know you got kids, granny love the grandkids, but she smoke, drink, cuss all around the grandkids. The grandkids getting secondhand smoke.
Yes.
They might get lung cancer when they. You understand what I'm saying? You have to think about these things.
Yes.
And therein lies putting away some of these childish things,
ways.
right? You got to think some things through and say, how can my virtue and my value be of use in this situation, so that it makes me a valuable and virtuous woman in the situation.
And that's one thing that we've not said at the beginning is thinking. That's so valuable because you're going to face so many different challenges in your life. I'm a mother of 2 young girls, and so that's always the dialogue that I have. Not always. Most times it's in anger. I'm saying, think. Are you thinking? Are you thinking? Because that is valuable. Look at what's taking place and assess before you respond or you react. Thinking is something that I think has been removed. We just want to be impulsive and go with what's taking place. But just as you're saying, that quote makes you do self-assessment, self-awareness. What is coming up on me? What's really happening right here? Is this really what's good for me? Who really does have my best interest? Those are inner thoughts that you're saying begin to take. Take a pause, slow down, and see, is this really good for me, regardless to who it's being presented by, mother, father, sister, brother, dad, whatever the case may be. Is this going to be a good outcome for me? And so, just as you said, to place value on thought would be tremendously helpful.
And so the quote literally teaches us to go on and slow down, listen to that voice that's saying stop, danger ahead, and taking that and go on and just avoiding the danger altogether, instead of allowing or relying on your strength to go forward and try to overcome it. Because what the quote is not saying is, it's not saying that you won't overcome it.
Right.
But when you're using your strength to overcome it, guess what you get? Tired.
Yes.
And so you see this stigma that black women and women alike, they're just so strong, and you got the kids and you're a mother and you work, and how do you do it? You're just so strong, and a woman could be drowning.
Yes. Indeed.
And get a high five, pat on the back by your girls, by your friends, by your people, right? But just drowning on the inside.
Correct.
Because you're relying on your strength instead of using that intuition, which is the virtue.
Yes.
That is the very virtue that we're talking about, that we've succumbed to. Your intuition is the virtue.
Yeah.
But when you don't have it, you've gotten broken virtue. You've got to get your virtue restored. And so we'll talk about that in the takeaway just a little bit. Okay. But absolutely, we have to, as a culture, make it okay for women to know that they don't have to rely on their strength. They don't have to be so strong.
Yeah, that's right.
Because there's virtue in you, and that virtue will lead you away from situations. And so just to wrap that part up, of the quote that I was reading, in my notes I have that virtue and value, right, is power.
Mm-hmm.
So strength without power is frustration.
Yeah.
So you're literally walking in your strength.
Mm-hmm. But no
You've
power.
traded your virtue for strength.
Mm-hmm.
You've gotten no power, and you're frustrated.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, every lady listening
Mm-hmm.
has a frustration,
Right.
whether it's motherhood, whether it's being a wife, whether it's being a work woman, whatever it is, whether it's being a boss, whatever it is, you're frustrated in something right now
Mm-hmm.
because you've not allowed your virtue to do
The
what it is
guiding.
it was designed to do.
Yes.
And so reclaim your value, reclaim your virtue. And so that was our last question. This portion is the takeaway. And so this is where we call you to action, people. Ladies, we're going to call you to action, give you some items and give you some things that you can go into action with over the next 7 days. And tell us how it works out. I've done this now. This is the fourth episode, third or fourth episode that we've done. And so I'm asking and soliciting for all who's listening. Go ahead and tell me if you've done these takeaways and how they've worked out for you. I'm definitely excited for the feedback I've been getting. But I definitely want to know how you guys are taking these takeaways and if you're doing them at all. Very important. And I do know personally as a host, I am doing them.
Mm-hmm.
So I do know that they are working. But tell me if you're taking these takeaways and how they're resulting in for you. All right. So my takeaway for women, mothers, sisters, daughters, grandmothers alike is to unlearn yourself and relearn your value and virtue so that you can walk in your virtue and do what is right with your value and avoid what is wrong. And if you have been violated at any point in time in your life, know that your violation does not devalue you. Reclaim, refocus, and revive, for your best days in life are ahead of you and not behind you. As you relearn your values and who you are, empty the cups that you've poured into thus far. Apologize to children, your significant other, family members, and friends, or anyone else that you may have bled on from unhealed wounds. However, after you've healed, exert your value, walk in your virtue, and dismiss violations from here on out, for you are woman, okay? So that is my takeaway for ladies. Definitely work, very much so work. However, it's worth the work. Elect lady, do you have anything for the ladies that you just want them to keep in mind, keep in their heart for the next 7 days, get to do?
Amen. I think that you did a wonderful job wrapping that up with the takeaway. I'll definitely be using that. Those are good suggestions in knowing we do. There's work to this, and anything worth having is worth putting the work in to get it. And so I do believe that in the next 7 days, if you would just really commit yourself to praying about areas in your life that you feel are inadequate, that you feel are lacking, that you feel could be better. If you will begin to just write it down in a journal, get for the next 7 days issues, areas in my life that I would like to see God move. And what you're doing literally is placing your cares before God and challenging him to show himself God to you. And he's waiting and willing.
Yes.
I've seen it happen. I've not always had a mature walk, a spiritual walk, and that actual challenge was given to me. Write down your prayer requests. I'm not a writer. Early on, I was not someone who wrote down a lot. That really wasn't my thing, and it may not be yours, but I've challenged you to do it. Get your iPad or your phone and pull out your notes and write down those areas in which you'd like to see some change take place.
Yes.
Watch God. Write the date, write them down, and wait on God to move in those areas. Don't forget to pray over them. Just lift those as cares. And some of you may say, I don't know how to pray. Literally, it's writing those things down and saying, these are areas that I know can change. I know you can change. I need you. As simple as that. Wait and watch God.
All right. Amen. So, again, those are the takeaways, ladies. Go ahead and write those things down, as well as just challenge yourself, and then you'll see growth. I guarantee it. So thanks again to Freegame Production for producing this episode. Once again, that's Deonza Albright, Instagram Freegame Productions, and go ahead and give it a follow. And again, you all have a wonderful, peaceful, and blessed day. Continue every day to be on this journey as we grow and as we expand, and know that I love you all. Ladies, you are loved, you are valued, you have virtue, and all it takes is a little bit of discovery. So go ahead and get excited about your next level and becoming a next level woman. So you can hashtag that if you want to. I'm a next level woman. And just get something started. Create a movement for yourself, and I guarantee you, it's not feminism. It's not all of these other different things that we want to claim, ladies. That may be in your interest, but what's in interest is looking inside yourself, because nobody has to walk in your shoes but you. So that's the movement that I dare you almost to start. And so I appreciate my sisters. I appreciate you, lady. Again, for connection and contact, you can go and follow the Lifestyle of Christ church info. We put that on the first episode, but it'll be in the description of this podcast. So once again, y'all have a blessed one, and I love you, love you, love you.